Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
So you're Artur Pawlowski?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Artur. So I just have a ticket to serve you here, okay? You have a court date of April 13th, 2021. And this is a ticket from an event that happened at Chinook Mall.
Those people in the lineups have no choice. They're sleeping under the bushes. They're sleeping under the bridges. You know, like if we don't feed them, they're going to whack somebody's head. They're going to steal. They're going to break into homes. They're going to break into garages because they have no option. So what I'm doing is I'm saving lives, not only their lives, but the lives of the people living in Calgary, because perhaps by feeding them, they're not going to commit any crime.
So to see that right now they're attacking Pastor Art because he's a good person. Like, who the hell goes against feeding homeless people? Like, what the hell's wrong with you?
Lincoln J for Rebel News here at Calgary City Hall, and today I'm at Pastor Art's soup kitchen. Now, he's been operating this soup kitchen, feeding people in need for the past 13 years at this exact same location. Now, last April, he actually had his permit revoked to operate his soup kitchen. The funny thing is, soup kitchens are one of the few things that are exempt from COVID-19 restrictions. Today, Pastor Art has a very special message for the city of Calgary. Take a look. So I'm here with Pastor Art just outside Calgary City Hall, and he's run into a bit of trouble, it seems, with the mayor of the city, Naheed Nenshi. Do you want to tell us exactly what's going on?
Last year, his administration sent me a letter revoking my permits, telling me that after 21 years of feeding the homeless and taking care of the poor, I am not allowed to do that, even though the provincial government considers us as a soup kitchen, and soup kitchen, as you are aware, are exempt from the COVID restrictions. You can feed the poor, because if the soup kitchens will stop feeding the poor, who is going to do it? The mayor disagrees. The mayor thinks that what we're doing is not a soup kitchen. He believes that feeding thousands of people 4 times a week in the city of Calgary is not beneficial to the taxpayer. He takes my permit away and he starts sending the police officers, bylaw officers, and peace officers with his intimidation tactics. I got 25 tickets already for feeding the poor and taking care of the orphans and the widows, and you will see shortly there's going to be a lineup of people that are receiving the necessities of life. We feed everyone. We don't ask about their religion. We don't ask about their political association. We don't ask them about their sexual preferences. Anyone that stands in our lineups will receive the necessities of life. So what I decided to do is, because the mainstream media is not covering the story, you guys are covering the stories. You are bringing the other side of the story. So what we decided to do to communicate with the public, since the mainstream media will not do it, is to bring some banners. Because that's exactly what we see right now. Calgary City Hall, with its mayor, is persecuting Christians. I had police officers during the night hour just 2 days ago.
So I just have a ticket to serve you here, okay? You have a court date of April 13th, 2021. And this is a ticket from an event that happened at Chinook Mall.
I mean, I was in my pajamas when the police knocked on my doors with another ticket. And then yesterday, I had police, I had bylaw officers, peace officers, and I had health inspectors intimidating my parishioners, taking pictures of our children, our women. I mean, this is absolutely out of hand what we're seeing right now. The overreach of the government, the wannabe dictators are just arbitrary, decide who lives, who dies, who can be open. I went to IKEA and it says only, listen to this, only 480 people allowed. Only 480 people. And yet in my church I cannot have a few dozen people with me. I mean, this is ridiculous. This has to stop. So I decided to bring the banners and let the public know that we have a problem. We've elected officials that are not representing us anymore. They're working against us, and it's time for the people to tell them, you gotta stop. This is the year of elections, so what I'm saying is we need to clean the swamp. We need to clean the city hall. Every one of them that is participating in this has to go.
Do you think that they're targeting Christianity specifically. Like there is a 15% cap on all places of worship, but by the sounds of it, it seems like they might be targeting your faith specifically. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, absolutely. Anyone with eyes and ears can see what's really going on. They're targeting Christians. Why? Because Christians are hard to be manipulated. We have our God, we have our Bible. We want to do what's good. We don't want to live on the donations or whatever, the charity of the government, the $900 every 2 weeks. No, we're hardworking people. I have always worked very hard for a living. All the people that I work with, the Christians, are hardworking people. They are owners of small businesses. They're middle-class people, and they want to keep it that way. The businesses they received, it's from generation to generation being passed to the children. We want to work hard for the living. We want to achieve something in life, and that's a no-no for today's government. They want you to survive on the $900. They want you to just keep quiet, stay home, shut up, don't say anything. So Christians, for us, we have always been very vocal. If you look at the history, Christianity was always very vocal. When we saw, when we saw dictatorship, when we saw Adolf Hitler wannabe and including the Hitler, the Nazi regime rising up, the communism, we've always have been standing against it. So I think that's why they don't like us very much. That's why they're attacking us, because that's what it is. Let's say it what it is. We're under attack in this country because we're vocal.
I was in a restaurant completely packed last night. It's places like that, they don't have a specific percentage, capped on their facilities. They basically, if they're able to adhere by the restrictions on social distancing, mask wearing, which there is no mask being worn at the tables, then they're okay. They can fill in as many people as they want as long as they adhere to those restrictions. So why is it different for places like your church and other places of worship?
Exactly. That's a good question. I have been asking this question since last March when we started to be targeted. As you know, I have been surrounded by authorities, police, bylaws, everyone. And let me tell you something, that when the government, the federal, provincial and municipal government declared that Christmas is outlawed, that we are not allowed to have a Christmas, I said, let's have the biggest Christmas party ever. They hate that. They hate anyone that is willing to stand up to their bullies. So they have chosen us Christians as a target. This is exactly what is happening. We have become a target against from the dictators and a government that literally in front of our eyes is breaking every law in the country.
I guess the cherry on top is the sad news of what's happened with Pastor James Coates of Grace Life Church in Edmonton. He's already been behind bars for over 2 weeks, and we got the bad news that he's not going to be making bail, which basically, if you don't make bail, means you're flight risk.
That's right.
You're a danger to society. He doesn't check those boxes. What's the reason that he's not making bail? They're not letting him out. They're going to make him suffer behind bars for 8 more weeks. What are your overall thoughts on that?
Imagine that we are letting go criminals, real criminals, the pedophiles on bail, robbers, people that are violent, and we say to them, yeah, you can go back home and you are the real risk to society. This pastor, us, the only risk that they are facing is us being vocal, us saying, hey, we disagree with what you're doing. What you're doing is wrong and evil. And that, I think, is more dangerous to them than a rapist, pedophile, a murderer, thief. So it looks like Christians that are willing to stand up for the rights, and what's more important, shepherds, pastors, and priests that are standing up for their parishioners are becoming a target, political prisoners. This is not the first time they have done it. I have been arrested dozens of times. They've done this to me as well. I faced over 100 court cases and about 300 tickets before. So it's nothing new. They have been trying this, but we've won in courts. They're trying this again. And, I don't have a problem with restrictions if they make sense. But one law for me and one law for thee, I cannot submit myself into something like this. How come the politicians can travel and they say to me, stay home? How come they can go and have their meetings and they say to me, I cannot have a church meeting? How come they can go to the restaurant? Look at here, people are skating without masks. About 100 people are skating right here, and yet a lineup of people that are, is receiving the necessities of life. You see, those people don't have fat checks like the mayor has. The mayor, Nehat Nenshi, is the most paid mayor in the entire country. You know that? He gets over $200,000 salary plus the bonuses. We don't. We're doing a charity, and those people in the lineups have no choice. They're sleeping under the bushes. They're sleeping under the bridges. 100%. If we don't feed them, they're going to whack somebody's head. They're going to steal. They're going to break into homes. They're going to break into garages because they have no option. So what I'm doing is I'm saving lives, not only their lives, but the lives of the people living in Calgary, because perhaps by feeding them, they're not going to commit any crime.
So as we were wrapping things up with Pastor Art, we actually noticed that the Freedom March was passing behind us. So we're going to jump into the crowd and get a couple opinions on the matter. I don't know if you've seen Pastor Art. He runs the soup kitchen down there. He's been doing it for 13 years there. The city actually revoked his permit to run that soup kitchen to help the homeless. He's still been doing it. He's been getting fines. What are your thoughts? Do you think that the city might be targeting specific sectors of people when it comes to enforcing these COVID-19 restrictions?
I think that's absolutely disgusting. Everybody, we talk here about, everybody's a human. Everybody, every business is essential. Every person is essential.
Anybody who is trying to help people and give people food and shelter, and they deserve to be supported, and they deserve to be supported with our tax dollars and by our city and everybody in our city. So I don't understand why, they would not be accommodated. Because even if they have made a couple of mistakes, everybody makes mistakes.
I think he's definitely being specifically targeted here. I've actually talked to Art himself a few times. He's a great guy. He's doing great work for the people. And from what I'm to understand, the Christians are being specifically targeted because, the tyrannical government doesn't want us to have the high vibrations. They don't want us to know what's going on. They want us oppressed, right? They want to keep us down and out, right? So what Art is doing is great. He's getting the word out to people, and that, I think, paints a big target on his back by doing that, just by simply helping people out.
I think that a lot of times he is being targeted, but he pushes back, and so that's the thing we have to do, whether we're targeted or not. We have to push back. That's why we're doing these rallies, because if we don't, then things happen in Ontario, what's happened in Ontario and in Australia. And I'll go back to communist China. Look, they took Hong Kong. So the thing is that you have to push back. If you don't push back, then they run over you. So whether they're going to push back or not, we still have to do it.
I think it's terrible that they're doing anything against Pastor Art. He's a good man, and he's been taking care of the homeless. One of the first times I actually came here, in fact, the first time I came to Calgary, he was out there on that corner taking care of the homeless. And I said, coming from Toronto, I said, this is a beautiful place because they do this, out in public with people around. And for me, coming from a city where that doesn't happen, it was one of the most inviting things to see.
Have you received a ticket for anything to do with COVID-19? If that's the case, head to fightthefines.com. Don't pay that ticket. We'll get you a lawyer and we'll fight it for you.